Good afternoon, Clinton. I'm so glad to have you here with me. Clinton is actually my mentor, and I'm so happy and honored that he would actually agree on this little chat session that we have today.
It's my pleasure. It's been a great chat already, a pre-chat, and excited to see where we go on this call.
Clinton, perhaps you would like to start with introducing yourself and a bit of what you do.
Yeah, my name's Clinton Swaine. I was born in Australia, but I live in the United States. That's in theory. I travel around the world. I'm really a global citizen. I have a company called Frontier Trainings where we teach business, investing, and public speaking, and we do it all around the world. So we're based in Singapore, Malaysia, UK, US, Australia, and we go to those locations on a regular basis. And I do other teaching work in other countries around the world. I've taught in, I think it's something like 35 different countries around the world.
Wow.
And speaking in Portugal and speaking in Indonesia and speaking at guest events of other people around the world. Mm-hmm. And I'm very blessed in that what I do is I teach work that empowers people, helps grow their businesses, helps improve their public speaking. And I do it all through interactive experiences and games. So people play and learn by playing games and then can apply that to their life and their business and get incredible results because the games simulate what they're doing in the real world. And so they get to work together. And the thing about games is that when you play a game, everything about who you really are comes out, right? If everyone's sitting in a classroom and everyone's sitting in their chairs and they're writing notes, you don't really get to know who the people are. But when they're playing games and they're interacting, you see who's rude and cuts off other people, who's impolite, who understands money and numbers correctly versus simply in theory. All the people get to bring who they really are into the game in the training world, and we get to see those people and support them where they need it, watch them shine or not shine or break down in tears and frustration and anger. And so my life is in this area of transformation of people, and they come out of the games with all these new learnings and distinctions to go off and implement. And sometimes it only takes 1 or 2 lessons that can totally transform and change your life.
You definitely did, and you transformed my life as well. Thank you so much. I was wondering, you were already very successful in the consulting world. Money wasn't your biggest motivation. What pushes you to do this and inspire others?
Look, I was involved. I had a computer business, had it for 7 years, had 16 employees, had plenty of money coming in. In fact, I decided I didn't want to be in programming for long because the market keeps changing of how you program. You've got to keep learning new skills. So I started going into property investing. I started doing a lot of investing, and then I started making mistakes. And I made mistakes were costing millions of dollars until it got to the point where I'd lost $6 million and decided to pull out of the market because I was involved in big scale deals. You know, about 1,000-acre development, building hundreds and hundreds of houses, shops, office, everything. We were involved in those sort of projects, but the mistakes were getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more expensive. And so I was like, you know what, let's go back and work on this. If I can work on my mindset to avoid those mistakes, get rid of any greed, get rid of any underlying sabotage. When I went back into the real estate market, I'd be able to go and just kick butt and just thrive. And so I stepped out of the market and started teaching my friends what not to do. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And if you eliminate everything can go wrong, the only option left is what's going to succeed. And so we started doing these games, and my friends just fell in love with them. And it got to the point where I started going out and running it as a paid training. And we had people flocking over to do it up and down the coast of California. And all the students are going, please create more, please create more, please create more. So I started creating more. And now here we are, 16 years later. The company's been flourishing around the world. I've got 200 games, 25 different courses, 153 songs that I've written, just pouring out intellectual property, but not doing the investing, which is what I really want to do in the beginning of why I stepped out. So I'm now in the process of re-entering back in the market. I'm lining up everything beautifully, especially with the COVID-19 shutting so much down. So the market's going to be the perfect opportunity to go back into. So the training and the consulting was really my opportunity to train myself to go out there and do what I'm meant to do, what I'm destined to do, which is to go out and run a huge financial empire. And the training was my way of getting me ready to do that. And that's where we are now. We're positioning everything. We're lining our team up. We're looking at securing all the capital we need. And then all the systems are in place. All the team's going to be in place. And we're just ready to go out and do it. So I still do the training and I still do the consulting because I love it. It's so much amazing and incredible to watch people transform and grow, and watch businesses transform and grow. And I'll do that parallel to the whole real estate empire.
What is one advice you would have for business owners out there during this period of COVID-19?
You got to be creative, because what you've done in the past is probably not working right now. It's probably changed entirely from what you first thought it was going to be. But for me, I run trainings live in a room. And when you say, one, you can't travel to all your markets. Number two, you can't even run events of 5 people for a period of time in the country you're in. And now everyone's got to have masks. They can't even touch the same microphone because of risk of spread. So there's so many restrictions of how I operate for trainings that makes it incredibly hard for me to do it. So if I was relying on what I've always done for the last 16 years, then my business would fail because I can't even remotely do what I do how I used to do it. So now it's about how I can change, go online, put more of my material online. And that's what I've been doing. I've converting my inline or in-room games to being online material. And it's just been profound. The depth of lessons has been the same, if not more, than in the training room. The growth of the games getting better and deeper and richer, because now I've got all the technology tools to help it go deeper into the experience. And we're just starting. You know, we're only, 5 months into this new path we're going to go into. But give me another 2 years when I've converted all my material onto online, and I can run entire courses online with all the content. We'll be able to travel less. We'll be able to have as much impact as we're having now. The world's shifting to allow online learning to be embraced versus like, really, we only do it in our training room because we don't think online gets value. Well, the worlds have to shift and realize that there are times when it's actually far more productive to online. Your team members aren't traveling. And providing you create a way where it's engaging for the people, then the company's saving on travel costs, they're saving on hotel hire, they're saving on all these other expenses, which makes it easier for people. And providing you can make it engaging, when we play the Millionaires Market game, students are playing it for 5 hours. And they play the game and they are 100% immersed in that game. They're not eating, they're not drinking, they're focused on the game fully for 5 hours. But for many people, when they listen to someone speak on a webinar or a call, it's like they change the image to go back to being just their standard image, and they can go off and maybe listen to the background. So they're only absorbing 5 to 20% of what's being said. But yet all my students who play these games, the ones who choose to immerse themselves, they've lost track of time. They are so in the material that they're playing in the online games that it's profound. And, I was sharing with you earlier, this book I created called Power Play was all about taking all my knowledge of games and putting it into a book. And so now what I've done is start taking all those games and going, how can we still make it online? Games that we have all our crew dressed up in costumes, where we're speaking in accents, where we create the room environment. How do we do that through an online experience and make it a rich and powerful environment? How can we play background music for all the students? How can we have it so when they go up, say you came to a game, that when you, instead of seeing my picture there, you saw one of my characters' pictures. And when you speak to them, they speak in the accent of that character. So you might not see them live. I might not be dressed in costume. We're looking at how much more we can turn our experiences onto online experiences where you can get the value without having to travel.
Wow, that's a lot of things that we could pick up. That's a lot of golden nuggets that I pick up today as well. As a leader, I know you are definitely a reader. I've seen you with many, many books. Could you just maybe share with us one favorite book of yours that you would want to recommend anyone to read them?
Look, my favorite, probably favorite go-to book for education of all time is called How to Be a Billionaire. And it's by a guy called Martin Fridson. I interviewed him, must be 10, 15 years ago. And the whole book is about, it goes through the history of these billionaires and then talks about the mindset of how they created what they did and what strategies they followed. And it's a brilliant, brilliant book. And it's sort of motivated me to go and create a series of books on world leaders to study them about how can we learn about Martin Luther King so we can model what worked great for him to allow us to get better. How can we model Princess Di? How can we model Gandhi? How can we model Jeff Bezos? How can we model their mindset so we can start down the path of getting similar results? Because we can either, as business owners, work really hard ourselves and attempt to carve out some small piece of the business empire, or we can look out there at the people who've already done it, got track records, and start copying and modeling off what they're doing.
Yep.
And that'll be way, way faster than us attempting to slog it all out and work through it ourselves. So I'm creating the books to be able to do that. And Martin's book, How to Be a Billionaire, not about what billionaires live, how billionaires built their business, but how do you become a billionaire by modeling off the strategies that made them wealthy. And so that's probably my all-time favorite book. I've probably read it 5 times. And yeah, very, very impactful to me.
I'll definitely go to get that book that you mentioned just now. And thank you so much for your time. And please, please, please come back here and speak to us more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'd love to.
Thanks. Bye-bye.